Right. 5 July 2024. And today I've got the Friday update for this week. Very, very interesting on Fridays. We always have some interesting news. And today I'm going to be giving you a very interesting story that has appeared in today's press. And this is to do with General Chiwenga. So General Chiwenga is a very powerful figure in Zimbabwe. And he is going to be the next president of Zanu-PF. And over the past few months, it has not been clear what was happening with Wicknell Chivayo and why Wicknell Chivayo was finding himself in the news. However, today there's been some revelations, and this is in the Standard newspaper. The Standard newspaper has revealed that General Chiwenga and Zimbabwe billionaire Tagwirei had secret meetings for a number of months. And these meetings were kick-started after it became clear that Wicknell Chivayo was misleading Mnangagwa. And the meetings between the two were being mediated by a military general who is close to Mnangagwa. So that is what the newspaper says. It says a military general close to Mnangagwa mediated the dialogue between Chiwenga and and Tagwirei. So Tagwirei, as you know, had fallen out with General Chiwenga. And the reason why they fell out is because of a mining deal. There was a mining deal in which Chiwenga got signed land. And so the relationship did not go well between the two. And this is at a company owned by Zunide Moti. So if you look at the newspaper, it will give you details of what was the deal all about, how they fell out, and why it was necessary for the two of them to be brought together by the military generals. So it became clear that Wicknell Chivayo was getting all the deals, and Wicknell Chivayo was getting closer and closer to Mnangagwa. And this meeting has resulted in an agreement between Tagwirei and General Chiwenga, according to the newspaper. And I can link this to what has happened overnight. You can see the announcement that Mnangagwa is going to step down. Mnangagwa has said he's going to step down. As I said in the past, within the next 2 months, you're going to see Mnangagwa stepping down. Mnangagwa is not going to be able to continue because of the Wicknell Chivayo scandal. This scandal is directly linked to Mnangagwa. There are going to be documents that are going to see very, very soon, naming Mnangagwa in the actual transactions that took place with Wicknell Chivayo. There's also the issue of the election rigging. Evidence is now widely available that Mnangagwa rigged the elections together with Wicknell Chivayo, Scott Sakukanya, Priscilla Chigumba, and Zek. So it's clear that Mnangagwa won't be able to continue. But what happens next is very, very interesting. I want to play for you what Mnangagwa said, and then I'll take you through what is going to happen next, starting now, ending in 2028.
So ndakuita my last 5 years. Chapera manji. Ndoenda kunozorora. Toenda ku Congress motsvaka umwe anotungamira achitevezera tsoka dzangu. Mazviwa? Mazuva angu okuzorora pedo. Chaenda kunozorora, toenda ku Congress motsvaka anotevedza tsoka dzangu dzamunhu mutapa. Mazvinzwa? Ndakuruma nzeve.
Right, so it's clear that Mnangagwa was forced to make that announcement. The heat of Mnangagwa is too much. There's too much heat. And let's start with who is going to get affected. So Mnangagwa is going to step down. Within the next 2 months, Mnangagwa is going to step down. The Mnangagwa kids who are in government, that is probably Collins and Sean, who are somehow doing business work or government work, they're going to be affected. I'm sure Sean is in the military. He's going to be affected over there. The position that they've given him is too high and the rank is too high. He's not going to be able to maintain that position. If you look at his brother Kuda, who is the Deputy Minister of Finance, is definitely going to be affected. And the other Mnangagwas who are in government positions and senior people in the government of Mnangagwa who are relatives, they're going to be extremely affected by what is going to come next. And that is just for the people. If you look at General Chiwenga himself, it's not going to be a walk in the park. There is going to be a lot of maneuvering to try and get rid of General Chiwenga. There is a number of factions within Zanu-PF. So yesterday, during this announcement, Chiwenga was sitting here. You can see that next to him was Opam Chinguri. Opam Chinguri has her own faction in Zanu-PF, and she believes that she can be the president of Zanu-PF. However, there's also the Christopher Mnangagwa faction, and these three factions don't work together. So these three factions that I've explained, these are sort of civilian, they are almost civilian factions. However, there's a military faction that is led by General Valerio Swanda, and Valerio Swanda is seen as someone who is acceptable to many people in the military and people outside of the military. And Mnangagwa, according to my sources, prefers Valerio Swanda to take over. And therefore, the plan would be to get rid of Chiwenga, to get rid of Opam Chinguri, to get rid of Tembo Mohadi, and also Christopher Mnangagwa. So these four people, you are going to see them being, there will be an attempt to get rid of these four people. And given that Chiwenga has now aligned himself with Tagwirei, it means he now has funds. He's got the financial muscle to do what needs to be done. Opam Chinguri does not have any money. She does not have any money. And if you look at Valerio Swanda, I do not know what access to money he's got. What needs to happen now needs a lot of money. And I think General Chiwenga, because of access to funds, is going to be well placed to take over. However, as I said in the past, Christopher Mnangagwa also has access to a lot of money, but he does not have power. So in terms of balance, almost all these factions are balanced, except the weakest faction, which is the Opam Chinguri faction, followed by the Christopher Mnangagwa faction. Those are very weak. The two strongest factions would then become the Valerio Swanda faction and the General Chiwenga faction. And whoever among those two factions manages to outmaneuver the other is going to take over and become the next president of Zanu-PF. So now I'm talking about Zanu-PF. We're not yet talking about the president of Zimbabwe. That's going to be another very difficult assignment. So I'm still talking about here, the president of Zanu-PF. And that election is going to take place in October 2027. That is when there's going to be an election of the next president of Zimbabwe, next president of Zanu-PF, replacing Mnangagwa. And afterwards, the president of Zanu-PF will have to go up against the opposition candidate. And the opposition candidate most likely will be Nelson Chamisa. However, I don't believe that Chiwenga wants to go that direction. I believe that Chiwenga is going to be open to a negotiation on a transitional authority. The guys in Zanu-PF know very well that they cannot win an election against, for example, Nelson Chamisa. So what they will attempt to do, and I'm looking here at General Chiwenga, he's probably going to go for a transitional authority, some sort of a discussion with Nelson Chamisa. And this means Mnangagwa will have to step down before the end of his term. And I'm talking here about within the next 2 months. That is the direction if General Chiwenga was going to be taking over and if he's the strongest faction within Zanu-PF. If Valerio Swanda was going to take over, then what is going to happen is you're going to have the whole thing running through up to 2027. No change from Mnangagwa. That is what Mnangagwa would want. Valerio Swanda would provide stability to Mnangagwa, and he is the preferred successor from Mnangagwa. So Valerio Swanda is the preferred successor from Mnangagwa. That is why you had the military guys talking this week. The military guys want the status quo. I'm not talking about the military, the lower bottom ranks. I'm talking here about the top layer of the generals. They would like to have Valerio Swanda in office as a replacement for Mnangagwa. So you're going to see more maneuvering by the military guys, the top generals who want the status quo to remain, whilst Chiwenga is going to be the guy who is most likely to negotiate with the opposition. So if you look at Chiwenga and watch Chiwenga very, very closely, and Tagwirei, those are the guys that if they were to come into office, you are going to see a transitional authority and probably a much better change for Zimbabwe. And if the military guys take over, you're going to see more of the same. That is more of the same for the next 3 or 4 years, leading up to the Zanu-PF Congress, which Chiwenga obviously will be able to contest. But I do not see how that is possible. Remember, Valerio Swanda is supposed to come back into Zanu-PF. He was previously appointed into Zanu-PF. He did not take up the position. But now that Mnangagwa has made the announcement that he's going to step down, you are going to see Valerio Swanda coming back into Zanu-PF very, very soon. That announcement is going to be made very, very shortly. You are going to see it. And it's going to be very interesting in terms of what happens in Zanu-PF. So my preferred outcome is Chiwenga taking over in Zanu-PF and going for a transitional authority and then leading up to fresh elections in 2028 or in 2040. So the Chiwenga permutation here will probably take us to 2040 with a transitional system or a government of national unity, which goes up from now 2024 to 2040. So that is what would be preferable in Zimbabwe, to allow the country to undergo economic reforms. So Zimbabwe right now, as it stands, it's not possible to have free and fair elections, and you need a period of about 16 years to create a country, a different country, to remove this current system which is there, and to remove the toxic politics that currently exists in Zimbabwe. So this is going to be very complex, and I want you guys to understand how complex this is. The maneuvering that is going to take place now, this is what I've been explaining to you as the post-Mnangagwa era. You've got so many players that want to take over. In Zanu-PF, as I've explained to you, you've got 4 factions in Zanu-PF that want to take over. Then on the opposition side, you've got Nelson Chamisa, who has gone totally quiet. He has said he was going to create a blue movement. He has not created the blue movement, and there are no structures in the opposition. So if ever there was going to be an election, the opposition will not win. The opposition will not win the election. And you have a Zanu-PF person that takes charge. So that is what is going to happen. If we say today, Mnangagwa step down, let's have an election, the opposition will not win, Chamisa will not take over, or Chamisa will win the presidency and lose the parliament, and lose the Senate, and lose the councils. That is quite a big possibility because of the current setup of the opposition. The current setup of the opposition is not currently in the right state. So I think, let me go back again and rephrase this so that we understand. According to the reports of today, there's been secret meetings between Chiwenga and Tagwirei over a number of months with a military general. They've been discussing the influence that Wicknell Chivayo had over Mnangagwa, and this has resulted in the announcement by Mnangagwa that he's going to be stepping down. The pressure on Mnangagwa has been too high. Behind the scenes maneuvering has been happening. And we are now in the post-Mnangagwa era. The post-Mnangagwa era is going to be determined by 5 actors. And the 5 actors are the Chiwenga faction, the Opamchinguri faction, the Valerio Swanda faction, and the Mchangwa faction. So you've got 4 factions, 4 strong factions in Zanu-PF, with the Chiwenga faction at the top and the Valerio Swanda faction next. The Valerio Swanda faction would want the status quo to continue, and the Chiwenga faction is most likely to go for a transitional authority and fresh elections in 2040. So 16 years of a transitional system leading to fresh elections in 2040. These are the permutations that I can see based on the people that are here and based on the realities on the ground. And I believe that Chamisa would probably accept something like this. Remember, Chamisa is one person. He's operating as a movement, but he's basically one person. It's very easy to incorporate him into any arrangement. There are no complications to work with Nelson Chamisa. It will be a very quick activity to make this transitional system work. The rest of the guys are already co-opted. Anasengozo Chabango, they're already co-opted. The only person right now who is not co-opted in Zanu-PF is Nelson Chamisa. Everyone else is already working with Zanu-PF. It's just a matter of dealing with the few people that are not already in the Zanu-PF system. So very complicated, but we're firmly in the post-Mnangagwa era. Mnangagwa is going to be losing his influence, except if Valerio Swanda was to come in That means the Mnangagwa faction will have control until 2027 in October, at which point I would expect Chiwenga to then contest and probably to win the elections in Zanu-PF and to go into the election as a very weak candidate. And at that point, Zanu-PF will lose the elections. If they do not have a transitional system, Zanu-PF will lose the elections because Zanu-PF is not strong enough to go against Nelson Chamisa. Let's say there's a 1-to-1 election between Chamisa and Chiwenga. They will not win that election because Nelson Chamisa is just too strong. The electorate is getting younger and younger, and the situation in the country is not going to improve without a transitional authority. So I think I've explained here. And then now let's look at Wicknell. What is going to happen to Wicknell? Wicknell, Scott Zakupanya, and Priscilla Chigumba. These guys are going to get arrested very, very soon. You're going to see the arrest of the 3 players in the elections. If what I believe is correct, that Chiwenga has got the upper hand, and that people in the military are not happy with Wicknell. So there is general consensus that Wicknell is not good for the military, is not good for Zanu-PF. Then I foresee the arrest of Wicknell Chivayo. I foresee the arrest of Scott Zakupanya. I foresee the arrest of Priscilla Chigumba. These guys are going to be arrested because of the corruption scandal. And also, we are soon going to find out where the money really went. The money that was paid into Renform, where did that money go? Who took the money? And when it was refunded, in which bank account did it go? That account or that information is available from the laptops that were stolen at ZEC. So last year, just before the elections, a number of laptops were stolen at the ZEC offices. After a break-in, I explained to you at the time that that theft was performed by the military or someone in military intelligence because they knew exactly which office to go. They only store the laptops, and the data to do with the Renform transaction was in those laptops. That is why you are able to see Kuti. The military knows exactly what happened. They have each and every email between Chigumba and Renform, Slaigwana and Renform, Wicknell and Scott Zakupanya. All these laptops had all the data, and they've never been recovered. Those laptops have never been recovered. They also have details about how many ballots were printed, the actual rigging that took place, the military intelligence. They know exactly what happened here. And I then want to unpack this situation in terms of what has happened to Wicknell. Wicknell was deported yesterday from the United States. My understanding is that Wicknell went to Dubai, and that picture, that's where he met with Madam Boss. I was showing you yesterday the picture that Wicknell met with Madam Boss in Dubai. So in terms of information, obviously, sometimes we do not know where people are. But when you see a picture just popping up, sometimes it's not related, but it actually gives us more information. Wicknell and Prophet Passion Java are both in Dubai. So that might look like a coincidence, but I do not think it's a coincidence. I believe that Prophet Passion Java and Wicknell and the rest of the guys that are incarcerated, they are somehow linked. And as you know, they're in the Mnangagwa faction. These guys are very close to Mnangagwa. You will see that they are regrouping and probably making a plan over in Dubai. And you probably see something coming out in terms of a strategy. How do you deal with Wicknell? Wicknell is a big liability for Mnangagwa because he is tainted with this corruption scandal, and not arresting Wicknell is making things worse and worse for Mnangagwa. So it's a developing story here. What we have is a developing story, but we are firmly in the post-Mnangagwa era. Mnangagwa has lost influence, and Mnangagwa is very vulnerable right now, both from a personal perspective and from his deals. The deals that Mnangagwa has done, they make him weak after the presidency. Remember, after the presidency, people are going to go after Mnangagwa. And the fact that he's been named in this corruption scandal makes him very, very weak. However, currently, as things stand right now, the Mnangagwa presidents can easily be challenged if documents come into the public domain that show that Mnangagwa rigged the election, and there is evidence of that rigging. You should also understand that there is the dimension of SADC. Mnangagwa wants to be the chairperson of SADC. It won't work if it is proved that Mnangagwa actually rigged the elections and documents are available. This makes it very difficult and very challenging for Mnangagwa. So Mnangagwa is very, very vulnerable as it stands. And from a financial perspective, Mnangagwa is ran out of money. Mnangagwa has got no money. I explained to you that moving around with Wicknell, it showed me that Mnangagwa was having financial problems. So I do not know how he's going to raise money. He's got a very big family and a huge responsibility. On a day-to-day basis, Mnangagwa uses a lot of money, but I believe that his access to cash has been cut off after the revelations of the scandals that we're seeing here. So what a complicated topic, but I hope that I've done justice for it. And if you want to ask me a question or two, you can put it in the comments section. Now let's look at the projects. This is the houses. If you look at Mount Hampden, this is the total mess, like what has happened at Mount Hampden. Mnangagwa has failed to complete the projects. These are the presidential villas. You can clearly see that there's no way that these things are going to finish. If the president sleep in here, they're going to be crashed. This thing is going to fall on them. I also explained to you that cement takes time to set. And at the moment, after you do this stage, if you're going to build the house properly, you have to give this thing 8 weeks to set. That is my understanding. I've seen people building houses. And this is the most difficult point, because if you're going to have a double-story house, you can't quickly build. However, what Mnangagwa has done with the company that he appointed is that they're going to use prefabricated housing. So they're going to build the house offsite, let the cement set, and then they'll just bring it one day and set up everything. The houses are going to be built offsite, and they're going to put up here. So that is the only way that Mnangagwa is going to be able to finish these villas for the presidents. But it's a mess. It's a total mess. Mnangagwa's projects are not finishing, and Mnangagwa is going to need help. Look at the roads. It's a mess. The road is not finished, and nothing here is done. Mnangagwa's work is a mess. And General Chiwenga had to step in here to make this thing move. It wasn't moving at all. And after SADC, everything is going to stop. There is no money in Zimbabwe. There is a total problem with the ZIG, and that thing is going to crash. By December, the ZIG will be nothing. However, don't think and believe that Mnangagwa wants to step down now. He doesn't want. He's making plans for the next 2 years. So what is going to happen is going to have to be a force. So a push, Mnangagwa is going to have to be pushed out. You're going to see efforts to push Mnangagwa out. After he makes this announcement, there's going to be jostling. And I believe that Mnangagwa is going to, or there's going to be an attempt to push Mnangagwa out within the next 2 months, one way or the other. Right. Then let's go to protests. I know most of you guys want to know about the protests. So the police have said they're not going to allow any protests in Zimbabwe ahead of the SADC summit in Zimbabwe. So if you're in Zimbabwe and we're thinking that you're going to have a protest in Zimbabwe, you must understand what has happened. The police have started denying any protest requests. And the latest request to be denied is the one in Hwange. So yesterday, the Hwange Residents Association attempted to have a demonstration against the town clerk of Victoria Falls, who wants to extend his term. And they were told that it's not possible to have a protest anymore in Zimbabwe because there's going to be the SADC summit. So you should expect that from now onwards, you won't be allowed. If you apply for anything to do with the protest, you won't be allowed. So the Zambia protest is the best bet. If you're an organizer of a protest right now, you must go to Zambia, join us on the 13th of July. That is the only way you can get a protest, because the police won't allow a protest. They will just give SADC as a reason. They're saying that malcontents are going to be to use any protest to cause violence and mayhem. So don't think that you're going to get permission to protest in Zimbabwe. So the SADC July 13 protest is the last chance if you want to make a protest. If you want Mnangagwa to be on the agenda of SADC, if you want the COM report to be discussed, if you want dialogue in Zimbabwe, that is the last opportunity. So I hope to meet you guys over there. because that is the last chance for us to have a protest. Then in terms of what else has happened, you remember Moneni Ngube. I hope I got this guy correct. He was a CCC activist who was killed. So let's get this guy's name correct. Moneni Ngube was a CCC activist, and he was killed by Zanu-PF supporters. He was killed during a time when Nelson Chamisa was addressing in Gweru, and Owen Muda Ngube was involved in that murder. His people killed Moneni Ngube with a spear. And yesterday, there was the unveiling of his grave in Lower Gweru, and this is Moneni Ngube here. He was killed with a spear. And you remember that at the time I showed you a video when Moneni Ngube was stabbed, he was standing less than 2 meters away from Ostalos. That is how dangerous this was for Ostalos. It was arm's length. I think the guys were even trying to stab Ostalos. I've got video of the whole thing, which I posted on Gambakwe. Very graphic. But there was a memorial service for Moneni Ngube yesterday at his rural home in Lower Gweru. And the family, as you can see, are standing over there. There was a pastor preaching over there. Very sad situation. The guys who did this have never been arrested. There was an attempt to have a trial, but this has never been finalized. And it's a very, very sad situation that has occurred. And so I do not know how this is going to be dealt with. We've got Moneni Ngube here. We've got Pastor Tafmane Masaya, who was killed by Scott Sakupanya's people in Mavuku. They abducted and killed him. And the Commissioner General Matanga is refusing to investigate that case. It's a very sad situation, and I hope that these are some of the things that will be in the dialogue to make sure that we don't have a repeat of these situations. Then I want to go to something in South Africa, very interesting in South Africa. What has happened is the South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa. So this is the new South African cabinet. It has got 75 in total, ministers and deputy ministers. Is the Government of National Unity of South Africa. They've got 32 ministers here and 43 deputy ministers. The total annual cost of this cabinet is about R1 billion in terms of salaries only. We're not talking about other expenses and support staff. It's about R1 billion in terms of the salaries. And as you know, the South African presidents earn about 4.2 million, the deputy president about 2.8 million. They don't earn a lot of money. But there is a huge cost in terms of housing, chief of staffs, and all this. This is the massive cabinet, the biggest cabinet of 75 people that has ever been appointed in South Africa. And this thing is not going to be functional. It's not going to be functional because there is a massive difference between the ANC and the DA. Those two parties have got different values. The DA is very effective. You've seen what they've done already in Home Affairs. Home Affairs is totally changed. It's no longer personalized. You don't have a celebrity minister in there who just wants to put his opinion. The DA has already started implementing rules and laws. They work on the laws, whereas the past minister was there, Motsoaledi. He was putting his own opinions and views and not following the law. And this is what is going to happen in all the ministries where you're going to see the DA, and the ANC is going to be outshined and outmaneuvered everywhere where the DA is, and they're going to lose power very, very badly. The DA operates like a company. They are very efficient. They've got objectives. They've got targets. Whereas the ANC operates like a village. They have a chief, and they've got a lot of other people running around. And the only way to get into the ANC leadership is through praise singing. So if you will see very soon a difference between ministries that are run by the DA and ministries that are run by the ANC. The ANC ministries will be a mess, and the DA ministries will be doing very, very well, and they'll shine, and people will see how a proper government is supposed to be run. I think the DA is going to do very, very well in terms of the ministries that they run, and they've already started showing this. And then in terms of sports, we've got here my brother, Opo Chingono, is having a massive fight with Temba Gorimbo. Twitter saying the moon, Okuma Swingo. Themba Gorimbo is a mess. He's been saying a lot of stuff and insulting everyone, left, right, and center, and supporting Zanu-PF. This comes after Zanu-PF allowed him to use the flag of Zimbabwe. For a long time, Themba Gorimbo was not allowed to use the flag of Zimbabwe on his badge, as a badge. And when he met Mnangagwa, he got so starstruck and started supporting Zanu like crazy and insulting anyone that does not support Zanu-PF. So that's crazy, Themba Gorimbo. But I think that is something just is an aside. Then in terms of my favorite newspaper, Metro newspaper, they are leading with a story that the Methodist Church has split in South Africa. So guys, I don't have this story on my newspaper. My newspapers are not working today. So let me see if I can get it on the website. So let's go to Metro. Let's see what is ZW. So you can go over there if you want to see these stories that I'm telling you about. So the main story says here, right, I don't think they've got the story. It's just like an empty space. I don't know who's doing the website for Metro. Let's see what it says here. Difference over, okay. Certain issues have resulted in a split in the Methodist Church. So you can go and check it over there. They've split in South Africa. And they now have 2 churches. And they are trying to share the churches worth 10 million rands. 10 million rands is not a lot of money, guys. 10 million is like $500,000. Like Wicknell's house cost 4 million. So it's not really a lot. But this church is being split, and you can go over there and have a look. I do not understand why people are concerned about these topics. If I was a church leader, I would not even have this stuff being discussed in my church. I would just, whatever people do in their own houses, keep it out of there. I've seen many organizations trying to deal with issues like this. Just follow the law of the country. And it's simple. If you follow the law of the country, you're fine. And then let me see if I've left anything else, or if I can find what's in the Herald newspaper. Let's see what the Herald newspaper is saying here. The Herald newspaper is saying, Zimbabwe working towards de-dollarization. Mnangagwa just talks. He does not understand what he's talking about. Mnangagwa says in 2 years, he wants the ZiG to be the only currency in use. It won't happen because there's no production in the country. It won't happen because the ZiG is fake. The ZiG is fake because they've not released the real ZiG, which is the cash ZiG. They've released the electronic ZiG, which they are printing like crazy. The banks are printing fake ZiG and banning. Banning is whereby they create a fake bank account, they go on the market and change it, then they delete the account. You never see that account again, but they've taken the dollars. That money cannot be seen, cannot be traced, and it moves around all the banks. And because the banks are the players, they can hide that thing and will never find it. I've shown you this thing happening at Net1, where the fake ZiG was created and that money was withdrawn as cash. And up to this day, it's circulating. That money that was created in Net1 is circulating. The same thing is happening in EcoCash. The same thing is happening in all the banks. So much fake ZiG, and the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe does not know how much money is in the system. They do not know, because what happens is the transaction happens, then there's the actual account where the transaction took place is deleted and it's gone forever. That is what we call banning. The only thing you see is that eventually the whole system is going to collapse because you cannot create money perpetually. So somehow you will see the whole system collapsing, and the ZiG will lose value, and it will continue losing until it will parabolically crash in December. You are going to see a parabolic crash of the ZiG in December. That is why they're not releasing the cash ZiG. Right, let's look at some comments and see what people are saying here. Then Killian says, you are very good at the beginning and you are now developing fear and putting fear in the people. You soon be a failure to the cause and will be a project of the establishment. Yes, Mkoma Killian, I just explained to you that the police are not approving protests in Zimbabwe. Yesterday, the Wange local board tried to protest against Ronnie Dube, and they did not approve it. So if you try to protest in August, they are going to deny your application to protest. So you now have to go on the street without an approval. And that is what I said to you, that Mnangagwa is going to shoot to kill. You are welcome, Mukoma Kilian Matangila, to walk into Harare in the protests. Or you can follow us to Zambia on July 13. Go and stand at the venue of the SADC Ministerial Committee of the organ and have a peaceful protest where no one will die. Or you're welcome to go to Harare on the 17th of August and launch your protest without any permission from the police. And if that happens, then Messi, you can do this while he's running. I do not want to waste people's time with things that don't work. Right, then Takudzwa is saying, why do you discourage people who want to protest? Takudzwa, you're welcome to protest in Harare, but I've said to you, the police won't approve it. So do an application now. Don't just protest for no reason, and do not protest without an objective. So I've been telling people, when you go to protest, have an objective, have a number of scenarios of what will happen after the protest, have a leader that is waiting to step in if Mnangagwa steps down. Zanu-PF is putting in place a leader who is going to step in if Mnangagwa steps down. At the moment, Nelson Chamisa, if there's a protest today, he won't be able to step in because he hasn't established the Blue Movement. He has to come out and establish the Blue Movement, and he has to make sure that this process happens through a dialogue. It's not possible that you protest today and then Nelson Chamisa tomorrow is the president. The way it's going to work is like this. If SADC puts Zimbabwe on the agenda, the SIOM report is going to be discussed. SADC is then going to make a determination, and there'll be dialogue in Zimbabwe. The outcome of a dialogue is a transitional system leading to fresh elections. But I'm seeing this happening between 2030 and 2040. So whatever we're going to have after the SADC summit is going to lead us into a transitional system that is going to run up to 2040. This is what I prefer. And this is what would be ideal, because the Zimbabwean system is too damaged. The economy and the system is too damaged. International partners will have to come in and help in Zimbabwe. At the moment, it's not possible to continue the way we are. That is the reality that is on the ground. So when you protest, do not just blindly protest. You must have a structure and understanding of what is going to happen next, and an understanding of the key stakeholders. Who are the key stakeholders in Zimbabwe? What is wrong with the system and what needs to be fixed? Then let's look at something else. Right, I said Zambia protest is there. We're going to have Zambia protest on the 18th. And Zanu-PF is afraid of the Zambia protest. And not Zanu-PF is the party. Mnangagwa doesn't want the Zambia protest. But we, as the people of Zimbabwe, we want the protest. Right. Did I hear you say Mnangagwa is stepping down in the next 2 months? Yes, Mnangagwa is going to be out of office within the next 2 months. There will also be an attempt to push Mnangagwa out within these next 2 months. You're going to see it, and we're going to talk about here. Have I not told you about the post-Mnangagwa era and the fact that Mnangagwa is at his weakest at the moment? He's going to be very, very weak. But remember also, there'll be an attempt at the same time on Chiwenga. If you want to go to the top, what do? You remove the guy who's next. So right now, Chiwenga is at his most vulnerable. Mnangagwa is also at his most vulnerable. The whole system is a mess. And anything can happen at any time. Everyone is at an edge. But people like Wicknell, people like Mnangagwa's kids, they are at a very, very big danger. And also Chiwenga, he needs to be like 100% alert, because anything can happen. And then could I question, why are you organizing with Zambia alone, plan, team, implementation, police? I'm not a political player. I am assisting with the communication. Do you want everyone to come here and organize? So this is a Zimbabwean thing. I've got a platform. I've been asked to provide communication, and I'm providing you communication. I'm going to go to Zambia, because you can't go to Zambia. Then you will see what will be happening. If there's only Gambakwe standing in Zambia, then fine, it's a total failure. But young Zimbabweans, let me tell you a secret. A country is not built by fear. A country is not built by delegating your responsibility to other people. I've told you that Zimbabwe will not allow you to protest. Take this opportunity, like other people who have assisted us. Overnight, we've received more donations. And we need more because people need to travel to Zambia. People are making moves. However, if you sit there and think that someone else from somewhere, imaginary place, is going to come and make it work, then you're going to be in a lot of problems. Deal with this thing like your own thing. If you're in Zimbabwe and you're a youngster, you're a student, go on a bus on the 13th, make sure you're in Zambia. If you're a Zimbabwean who is already in Zambia, gather with other people. Let's have 10,000 people gathering in Zambia and make sure that SADC removes Mnangagwa as chairperson. They've already made that appointment. He is incoming chairperson. SADC needs to remove Mnangagwa. The CM report needs to be on the agenda, and there needs to be a dialogue with Zimbabwe. How simple can that be? No one gets killed, a protest takes place, and you have a great country. Zimbabwe is going to be one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And do not look at me, do not, whatever you think about me, do not be concerned about it. Think about your future. Think about how great Zimbabwe can be. This is going to be the most beautiful country, and we're going to have a new great set of leaders. Within the next 10 years, Zimbabwe is going to be amazing. All the Zimbabweans who are outside the country are going to be able to come back home and do a lot. They're going to do very, very well. But the systems are broken. So we will need a transitional systems, a transitional authority to fix the systems. And I believe that most of us and most of the people that are here, they understand what I'm talking about. Zimbabwe can be fixed very easily, but we need a leadership change. And we can't have politics that happens in the dark. Could we keep hoping and expecting that someone is going to do something from somewhere? That shouldn't work. We need leaders that come out and explain their positions and tell us what they're going to do and show us what they're going to do. And that is why we need a transitional system. A transitional authority is amazing for Zimbabwe. That is what we want. And then Mkoma Noah is saying, Gambakwe send me your CV. Duda Okita, Minister of Information. Mkoma Noah, I will never work in a bureaucracy or in a government. Imagine a guy like me, I'll be so limited. I'm going to do homecoming. That's all I'm going to do. We want all our people from all over the world to come back home. And Zimbabweans right now are underperforming all over the world. Most Zimbabweans are destitute. Most Zimbabweans cannot afford a flight back home with their families. They want to go home, but they can't afford the flight back home. They're in deep debt, and most of them can only live from 1 month to 1 month, one paycheck to one paycheck. And the only way they can go home if they die and the Zimbabweans cooperate and put money together for them to be taken home. This is very sad. And this includes the children of ministers who are based overseas. I've shown you in the past what has happened with my family's Anna Isaac Moyo. That was very sad, and this happens to a lot of people in government. Our guys in the military, they are living in destitution. Their salaries are less than $100. Most of them can't buy even a simple house in the village. Most of them, you saw the burials that took place, their coffins can't fit in the houses. They were talking here of the top generals, the brigadier generals. When you go to their rural homes, it's a total mess. This is affecting everybody. We need this to be fixed. We need our country to do well. And this is the beginning of a great things. And then Mkoma Sam was saying, are there any formal arrangements with Zambian authorities at the moment regarding the protest? Yes, something is on the works. It means you guys just travel to Zambia. That's all. Our job is to make sure that it happens. The Zambian government is very friendly. The Zambian soldiers and police will not kill you, and there will be order. So thank you very much, everyone. I would like to thank you for all your support. We're having massive support here at Gambakwe, and I believe that we're going to do very, very well. And I would like to ask once again, please send us donations here. We want to buy flight tickets for someone. We've received part of the money, but it's not enough. And then we want to hire a bus. And there's also someone that has been asked to be moved from Zimbabwe. We want to move someone quite prominent from Zimbabwe. And this person is going to make a big difference in the protest. So they need either a lift or you can put them on a bus. So there's one guy who's very important in Zimbabwe that we need to come to Zambia. Please donate here. Any amount will do. Normally, we also need to hire to rent a house where guys are going to be able to change and sleep over. So please make a donation at fumogena.com and let's make this work. Do not delegate your responsibilities to other people. In Gambakwe, I leave my house and I go for a week. You are in your house, do your part. Take out your $100, take out your $200 and put on any of our platforms so that we can help the guys who are going to be doing this. This is going to take a lot of work and this is going to take a concerted effort. It will need focus. It will go on for periods that look like forever and ever. What is going to happen here is not going to take a day. We are going to need to go at this for a long time. And I want you guys to go and watch an interview that has been done by Nomaliso Msasiwa, right? I want you guys to go there and watch it. I don't agree with everything that she says, but the one point that she makes is that sometimes it will take 10 years to achieve a change, and Zimbabweans don't have and do not want to do it. They don't want something that takes a long time. Zimbabweans want something that will happen that day. And to take that point, she says a lot of interesting things here, and I do not know what channel she was in. So in fact, let me look at what channel she did this. That interview's got 4,000 views, and I feel that Zimbabweans are missing out on interesting. So let's type Nomaliso Msasiwa here and see what channel she did an interview with. I'm sorry, guys, you have to type a name because I'm not seeing this channel. It was this week. She did right. It's with Haku Stream. So if you go to Haku Stream, you're going to see an interview called Unity in Diversity, Breaking Tribal Boundaries. That was done by Nomaliso Msasiwa. It's about an hour and 41 minutes. Go and watch that thing. Very controversial wife, Kudam Msasiwa. I don't know how you can stay with such an opinionated wife. To my baby, to be opinionated. But anyway, that's Kudam Msasiwa there. She's very opinionated, and so I found myself laughing at some of the things that she says. Crazy stuff. And then Mgoma General says, "Eish, vanogona kutuma CIO zvavo info yoba yarasika. Don't worry about CIOs. CIOs are our brothers, and there is no CIO who's going to harm us. CIO are police. If you see someone who is gone for the training of the CIO, that person believes in the law. It's like people who have gone in the army; they believe in the law. If you look at some of these guys who make these statements and who chase people, they are not CIO. The real CIO, they are good people. They know the law. They follow the law. Mnangagwa has destroyed our country. And let me tell you how Mnangagwa has destroyed our country. Mnangagwa has destroyed all systems. He has taken our country back to prehistoric periods with his funny policies and failure to change from what we knew with Mugabe. He has lost a massive opportunity to develop our country. What we need now is a movement to a new kind of country. And this new kind of country is a country where systems work, people that actually work hard get rewarded, and corruption is not something to be looked upon with joy. Some people right now, we're looking at Wicknell and asking for a car and thinking that being corrupt is the way to go. We need a new system, and it can't work when Mnangagwa is there. Mnangagwa is to step down, and we need a new leader. Zanu-PF, we need a new leader in the opposition. We need a transitional system, and we need our systems to be rebuilt, and our country will be great once again. So I've talked enough, long enough, and I hope that all of you are enjoying what we're doing here and are in total support. Let's work together. Let's all work together within the next 3 months. We're going to have a new country. And most of you guys who are overseas will be able to come back home and live with your families. So thank you very much. And I would like to end this. And probably I'm going to do my first gym session in 3 weeks. I haven't gone to the gym. Thank you very much. And